Welcome to Houston Sports Talk with your host, Robert Land.
9 in a row, baby. Welcome to our live Texans-Colts postgame show. Thanks for checking into the best Houston sports podcast, part of the National Bleav Network, presented by FanDuel. Joining me, contributor and Bullpen podcast co-host Tom Chavarria, along with Houston radio legend Jayson Braddock. And hey, we want to hear from you guys, you live YouTube viewers. You're also part of the conversation, so hit us with your questions and comments. And Tom, who would have guessed just 9 weeks ago they'd tie a season high 12 wins, have a 9-game winning streak, and finish 4 games ahead of the Colts? Wow, what a way to end the season. Perfection.
This win is exactly as we thought it was going to go. Nobody thought that the Texans weren't going to be here. Nobody thought they couldn't win 12 games. Nobody had draft positions up looking at potential offensive linemen or tight ends or safeties or whatever, insert character. We all know, no, absolutely not. This is amazing. It should not be undersold what the Texans were able to do here this season. A lot of credit has to go to a lot of people because, I mean, there were people that left this team for dead at 3-5. There were people that left this team for dead at 0-3. And, you know, we've drank for the last 8. We're going to drink for one more. You know, the glass is half full. And, yeah, things are looking up.
Jayson, it's been 45 years since a team in Houston actually had a chance to, I think, go to an AFC championship. Well, they've had a chance before, but the last time we did it, and now they've got a real chance. I mean, this team has probably got the best chance of any Houston Texans team and any Oilers team as well. You go back to, you know, those early 90s teams, but that's how long it's been since a Houston NFL team has gone to a conference championship. You got to go back to 45 years ago now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point, Robert. And I think the key about this, as you mentioned, is that they do have a chance not only to go to the AFC Championship game for the first time in franchise history, but there's no one in that AFC that really scares you. And then that's not to say the Texans will definitely be in the Super Bowl. Obviously, the games have to be played, and this season has been crazy, as Tom was alluding to. That being said, though, every year the Texans have gotten to the playoffs, you're looking at either, a Tom Brady and the Patriots or Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. There's not that team this year. And so it'll be interesting to see how these playoffs play out and the Texans can do what they're capable of doing.
Yeah, we're going to go through the game, but then we're going to talk about potential matchups as we speak here live. Steelers and Ravens in a dogfight. We'll see who the Texans end up playing. I don't know if it's going to happen by the end of the show, but maybe we'll have a better idea. But we're going to talk about playing each of those and what they sort of give you as far as problems go for the Texans. No Nico and Kamari this week, but Ursary was back. And we'll get into more detail on how the Texans handled resting players later in the show. But boy, the Texans opening drive, Dalton Schultz, 2 big first down catches, including maybe the catch of his Texans career, a one-handed gem. Can't say enough about what he's done this season. Just an incredible comeback season for Dalton Schultz. And the drive, though, stalls on a terrible second down for CJ. He has all day to throw, but it looked like he missed 2 open receivers to his right and grounds the ball, making a 3rd and forever. Fairbairn gets 3, but kind of poor process by Stroud. Just didn't like that. Colts first possession, Tremont Smith just gets roasted on a Leonard to Pierce 66-yard touchdown. Tom, they rolled the dice on sitting Lassiter. And at that point, I'm sure you weren't all that happy with the fact that they were sitting Lassiter for this game.
No. And it's so interesting. I felt like in that particular moment, the defense looked like they thought they had Phillip Rivers back there and just didn't think that Riley Leonard could get the ball out there because, I mean, there was just nobody in coverage. There's got to be somebody deep. I got to believe everybody on the sideline was very upset with, Tremont Smith, which I know tons of people on social media where plays like that just can't happen. I don't care if it's the 4th string running or quarterback and fourth string wide receiver, you got to be able to defend that.
Yeah, next possession, after a couple of penalties and a first down throw to Higgins, CJ, a beautiful pass to Higgins inside the 10, but an Ingram penalty nullifies it. Fairbairn kicks another field goal. Lots more on him as we go along. While all this is going on, Cam Ward leaves the Titans game with an injury. Terrible news on the upset watch. After a Colts 3-and-out, they pull off the successful punt fake, which leads to a Colts field goal. Texans respond. CJ hits Hutch 33 yards, 2 Woody Marks first down runs, and Stroud to Higgins for 6. But Jayson, the key to that TD was the Texans overcoming a Higgins holding penalty. They couldn't overcome penalties on the first 2 drives, and that was a recurring problem all season, but that's what they're going to have to do during the playoffs.
Yeah, a lot to chew on right there. The Titans game, as you mentioned, against the Jags. Titans go up 7-0. Cam Ward leaves on the touchdown rush, and the game really got out of hand. Still only 7-7 at the end of the first quarter, but without Cam Ward, it looked like that was going to be a far cry, to expect the Titans to be able to hold on and win that game, and that's how it played out. The Higgins play, going back on that the beautiful pass from Stroud that illuminated there as far as down the sideline. Those RPOs the Texans are running, you have to make sure your guards, it's a tough ask for them. They can't get past a yard downfield. You've got 2 guys you can call it there on Ed Ingram and Jake Andrews, with the play develop a little bit longer on a deep pass down the sideline to Higgins. They have to make sure they're still holding up and not really just selling out in the running game, because when they go on to it, they don't know if Stroud's still holding the ball, if he's throwing it, but they do have to be more cognitive of that if they continue to run those RPOs in the playoffs. That touchdown drive, that first touchdown drive for the Texans you were talking about, Robert, I thought the running game really got going well there. One run, both tight ends, Schultz and Cade Stover, seal it up on the outside for Woody Marks to get the run upfield, and there was consistently big 5+ yard runs on that drive. And I think when we look back, if the Texans don't achieve what their ultimate goal is this year, a lot of that will lie on the inconsistency of the running game. If they can do more throughout the playoffs, what they were able to get there on that touchdown drive in the running game, this team it becomes one of the favorites in the entire NFL.
Yeah, Trent Brown, I assume he's going to be back for the playoffs, but Ursery was back this week, Jayson. Did you see any ill effects, or have you had a chance to maybe dissect him at all or look at the all-22 as far as, him being able to play with that hand injury?
Yeah, I did. I've rewatched the game. Went through it pretty quickly there. Didn't put out a lot of highlights and everything else with all the backups and all that playing. All that mattered was that it was a win in the end of it. That being said, though, to your point, I didn't see any issues from Ariante Ursery, and I mean that's a great, a huge positive for him to deal with that injury, have the surgery, come back so soon, and to still play like Ariante Ursery. That's what I saw on film, was him being the same guy.
Absolutely fantastic for the Texans. And after that touchdown, Daniil hits Leonard's arm, forcing a fumble. Toa recovers at the 2. Daniil, little quiet the last few weeks, but big play there. Next play, Tom, all sorts of weird. Stroud screws up the handoff to my guy, Togiai, my guy, and he runs it in. He even did some push-ups in front of Togiai and apologized, but kept his head. I got to say, Stroud, with all that going on, still managed to keep his head and figure out a way.
Yeah, I wish I could remember the Twitter handle. I saw a great quote on Twitter that said the Texans are just absolutely perfect on busted plays at the goal line. If only they could make their regular plays look like the busted plays, they'd have far more success. And that's exactly what happened here. CJ owned it later on after the game, saying, look, the play was designed to go to Togiai, and I messed it up. And, that's why he was doing the push-ups like you spoke to. And, you feel bad for Togiai at the time because the guy has been nothing but awesome since he started. We've been talking about him at length all season long. And you want to reward guys like that. I think this was, the opportunity to do that. That was really cool. But glad that CJ had the awareness to get in the end zone and not just like throw it away, because, clearly The play fake sold was great. Everybody crashes down, CJ rolls around, and it's almost like something they should probably try to incorporate more of, even with Woody, even with Chubb, whoever the case may be, just because if you sell it like they did, you end up getting a one-on-one outside, and I feel like CJ can win that for a yard or two or something.
Yeah, they couldn't figure out how to get in the end zone at all earlier in the season when they were that close, and maybe this is the new play. Screw up the inside give to Tommy Togiai because he is magic. Things happen. More Togiai in a bit. I see Brandon says Kyle Hamilton out injured. We're trying to keep one eye on the game, so let us know if you hear anything on that. Before we move on, just want to remind everybody, if you're not watching live, still want to hear from you. Put it in the YouTube comments. And for Rockets Junkies, analyst Cooper Klein joins me Monday night. For Astros Junkies, listen back to my conversation with Locked On Astros Brett Chansey Monday. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube with notifications so you can get updates on the live shows and all of our content. You also want to subscribe on your favorite podcast app.
A little breaking news as well. I know we're keeping that one eye on the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game, and the playoff time has been announced. The whole schedule's out now. Pittsburgh down 7, but they've got 1st and 10. Well, now it's 3rd and 1 at the Baltimore 2. So they're 2 yards out from tying this game up with the extra point as well.
Good to hear. Let's get back to the Texans game. What happened? Again, we're going to be talking about the potential matchups also as this one goes along, but Colts go 3 and out. Jalen Noel finally gets the punt catch interference. I guess the Colts watched the Chargers games and wanted to see, hey, can we hit him before he gets the ball? And maybe they still won't call it penalty, but they finally call a penalty on the punt catch. But for the first time, the Texans offense forced into a punt. Colts walking down the field for a touchdown. Pierce beats Stingley. I nearly fell off my couch. Stingley got beat? What happened? Which is so rare, Tom. But the real concern at this point for me isn't about this game or this season. My concern is Riley Leonard, man. This guy looked like a real Colts quarterback of the future.
He really did. It was interesting because as that was going on, they were panning back and forth between Daniel Jones, who was sitting in the skybox watching the game, and they had this long drawn out thing about how Danny Dimes, Riley Leonard, Phillip Rivers, they all get together on Friday nights and go over plays and this and that. And they're sitting there like saying how much they feel like Daniel Jones is going to come back and run this team. Oh, by the way, Riley Leonard's like, whoa, pump your brakes. I might have a say in this because he was out there dealing. And J.J. Watt, who's seen a couple of good quarterbacks in his day, sacked a couple of good quarterbacks in his day, was really adamant that, hey, this kid's playing really good.
Yeah, J.J. mentioned in the second half, he did it against the first-team defense. Hold on a second. There's a guy named Kamari Lassiter that was not out there, and he's like one of the top 3 or 4 Texan players. Tremont Smith gave up that big play. But, yeah, I mean, he looked good otherwise, though. I mean, even with that going up against the backup there, but I mean, he just looked like he knew what he was doing. Jason, he just looked like a guy that was not a rookie. I mean, you wonder, well, what if they played him instead of Phillip Rivers, because he could hit the deep passes and he could do some of the things that Phillip Rivers couldn't do.
Yeah, I'll pump the brakes on Riley Leonard. I like the last point you bring up there as far as, why bring Phillip Rivers in and everything. I know Riley Leonard wasn't fully healthy at the beginning of that, but the last couple of games, Riley Leonard definitely, without nothing to play for, he should have been the one going out there to see what you have in him. Y'all both laid it out perfectly as far as the big plays in this game. Against Tremont Smith, against Jamarcus Ingram. I mean, these are depth pieces here. The touchdown on Stingley, I will add, it's almost like they had a pick from Toa. Stingley's right there in Alec Pierce's hip pocket, and then Toa stops right at the key on the break point of that route, and Stingley has to go around Toa a little bit there. And there's a Pittsburgh update if you want to throw that out there as well, Robert.
Yeah, they're up. They got a score, so it's a tie game, 10-10. They're not quite up, but that game is going to go down to the wire, it looks like. And got a comment here. I think this is Eamon. I'm sorry if I mispronounce it, but he said we accomplished our 2 goals, won the game, got out without any major injuries. The third goal, of course, The only thing that would have made it a perfect day, Titans taking care of, the Jags, but it's a former Oilers, so I didn't figure they would come up in the clutch. That's just the way it goes when you got an Oilers history with you. Next drive, Texans 2-minute drill. Hutch draws a pass interference and then has another big chunk play, sets up their third field goal, the Texans' third and fifth scoring drive of the half. Only one punt in the first half. Jayson, what did you think of the process for the Texans in the 2-minute drill? Any complaints with how they handled it?
No, I don't listen a lot live while it's going on, but on the rewatch before the all 22's out, you get the condensed version. And I heard JJ, illustrating how D'Amico had struggled there with operations. We've seen him be better in that over the last couple of weeks. And I didn't think he was, hey, you don't have any timeouts towards the last part of that drive with under 20 seconds left, I believe. He hits Woody Marks down there around the 5-yard line, and it looked like Marks could have secured that and then fell out of bounds at the 5-yard line. You'd have a shot, maybe two, at the end zone. So the touchdown was in play. It didn't work out for him that way, and then not having the touchdown right there towards the end of that drive, I think that hurt him as well. I know anything JJ says, the city of Houston is just going to take it as God's word, but I felt JJ probably led the fans a little bit more to thinking that drive wasn't well ran. I didn't have any issue with it at all. So I'm going to disagree with JJ on that final drive.
Yeah, on JJ and Iron Eagle, to me, it's not even close. It's the best announcing team in all of the NFL. I take the primetime guys, whatever. I will say that I've had a lot of complaints about how they've handled the 2-minute drives. I like the way they use the timeouts. For the most part, it just looked like it was much better run. They were handling things a little bit quicker. We're seeing improvements in that, which is a good thing going into the playoffs. And at halftime, the Jags up 28-7. So it's at this point where the Texans are like, let's get the subs in for the second half. Derek Barnett, Jamarcus Ingram, EJ Speed, Christian Harris take over for Daniil, Will, Stingley, Aziz, Mills out, or Mills and Stroud out. I agreed with that move at this point. Frankly, I agreed with everything, Tom, that the Texans did as far as, not playing Lassiter, not playing or not playing Nico, and going with the subs at the halftime. Where were you on all this?
I think we're just destined to always disagree, me and you, Rob. It's just never going to work. I don't. The thing we do agree on might cure cancer. I don't know, maybe. Because for me, this screamed a Texan team that no one likes. And I had this whole thing mapped out where I was going to go on this whole soapbox, and it was all preference on whether or not they won. Now, if I'm very good about a win is a win, and however you get it, just win, baby, like your tweet said. I agree with that. However, this felt half in, half out all the time. And I think that's what we hate about the Texans. We don't like their willingness to push the ball downfield. We don't like the way at the end of halves or the beginning of the game they come out flat. We want them to be consistent throughout. And I felt like if you were going to be consistent, if you did not care who you played, if you did not care, then don't play them at all. And then you give Davis Mills and you give all these backups a full week of prep. And you've seen what Davis Mills looks like on a full week of prep. The first, and we'll get into it, he did not look good. The team did not look good. And you could tell they were just kind of throwing guys out there. I read something post-game. EJ Speed was playing edge. Like we had guys that never played positions playing positions just to get through a game. And again, if you don't care about position, if you don't care about seeding, then why even stick your toe halfway in? That was always going to be my complaint, because I felt like if you're looking for continuity, consistency, all the things that we want from this team, you want them to put together a performance like Jacksonville did. Jacksonville ran their starters for 3 quarters, and they were trying to stack points even after they were up 28-7. They had Trevor Lawrence lead 2 drives in the third quarter when they had nothing else to play for. And Tennessee had a backup quarterback, and they couldn't move the ball at all. But it was to keep their mojo, to keep that foot on the gas. Like we want so much from a Texan team that looks like sometimes they don't do that. So for me, all of this screamed all of that. And I was like, this was an opportunity for them to say, no, we want to be that kind of team. You look at Denver, you look at New England, you look at all these teams that had something to play for, seeding, whatever. They did that. The Texans basically said, you know what? We don't care how it turns out. Luckily, it all worked out, but that's the sign that they sent to me at halftime.
All right, Jason, I'm going to put my point out there, and then you can tell me if you're more Tom or more me. But look, before the game, they don't play Lassiter and they don't play Nico. Lassiter is so key to this. They're not going to the Super Bowl if you get him super injured after he's been banged up the last few weeks. And you got to be able to beat a Riley Leonard Colts team without Kamari Lassiter on defense. And Nico is a guy that always gets hurt. And the Texans have a deep wide receiving core. So why not bench those two guys and go out and try to beat the Colts without those two guys? Now, at halftime, to me, it wasn't even a question, because at that point, the Jags game's over with. Brandon Allen's at quarterback, and they're down 3 touchdowns. There's no way the Titans are coming back. Now, as far as the seeding between a 5 and a 6 seed, to me, I prefer to play. I prefer to play the Jags. I mean, the 7 seed, that was so, like, if you looked at all the scenarios, it was so, the odds of them turning into a 7 seed was so crazy. I prefer them facing the Jags at 3 than potentially, now people might disagree with this, than potentially going to Baltimore or Pittsburgh. The Jags, we play them tough all the time. We know we can beat the Jags. We know that, Trevor Lawrence he's got to prove something. I would rather go against Trevor Lawrence than 40-something-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Even if he's 40-something, he's still Aaron Rodgers. And Lamar Jackson, who, even though he's having an off year, Lamar Jackson is a guy that scares the hell out of me if I'm the Texans. So, I don't get the idea of oh my God, it's a big difference between a 5 and 6 seed. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, and quick update on the game. Last drive, Steelers tied the game. Lamar Jackson just picked off by, and tell me this isn't fitting, if I'm reading this right, TJ Watt. And so TJ Watt with the pick of Lamar Jackson's. Steelers have it 1st and 10 at Baltimore's 15-yard line in a tie game. Now, to your point, the one thing I didn't hear a lot of people talk about, y'all mention it here, Nico being inactive. Kamari Lassiter, I don't think you're going to get an argument. I don't want to speak for Tom, and I can see him shaking his head. No, I don't think you're going to get an argument from anybody as far as resting Kamari Lassiter, who's been playing with one injury, then got banged up with another injury last week. Yeah, let him take the game off. I don't think you have an issue with anyone. Nico didn't make sense to me because you were playing with the possibility to get the 3 seed. If that falls through, you're still playing for that 5 seed. Now, to your conversation about, well, if you fall from the 5 to the 6 or to the 7, it's not that big of a deal. Listen, the Chargers were undefeated in the AFC West this year, 5-0. They lost today because they rested Justin Herbert, but divisional games get funky. We saw that today. And Buffalo, if outside of Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen has the most playoff experience. Listen, we've talked all year about how the NFL finally has the parity that they want this year, and that I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Texans win the 5 seed, the Bills win the 6 seed, and the Chargers, the 7 seed, beat New England, who's played absolutely nobody this year, the weakest schedule of the entire NFL. And so there's a situation where if that plays out, Chargers are going to Denver. Buffalo's coming to Houston. And then the Chargers had already beat Denver this year and only lost this week because they rested Justin Herbert after going 5-0 at AFC West. Chargers could win that game in Denver, would not shock me. Then you're playing the AFC Championship game in Houston. So for that to still be a possibility, there's absolutely no way that I'm checking out my starters in the second half after having them play the first half. And then to go with practice squad guys and 3rd, 4th stringers out there to where, and I keep seeing people, Davis Mills saved the season again. No, stop that. Davis Mills didn't do anything but a couple check down throws, the only completions he had, and one big scramble on a 3rd down to convert a 1st down. The defense saved their asses today, and the Texans would have fell to the 6th seed and having to go to Jacksonville and Duval. Now, I know everybody, including yourself, is saying, well, I don't want to face Lamar Jackson. Listen, Trevor Lawrence is playing some of the best football in the entire NFL. And playing in Duval, look at their record there. Lamar Jackson hasn't been him this year. Aaron Rodgers is a skeleton of his old self, and DK Metcalf's been suspended for the last 2 games. Pittsburgh they're tied and late in the third quarter with a chance to take the lead on this drive at Baltimore's 7-yard line on 3rd and 2. That's with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. So everybody is saying, well, I'm scared Baltimore could get back in it. Baltimore, not me. The Texans can beat any team in this playoff. So seeding is more important to me. And if you're worried about injuries, listen, the biggest news to come out of today's game, not the seeding, not that the Texans won, Titus Howard was in there halfway through the third quarter in a game Nico didn't even play in as fully healthy. When Davis Mills scrambles for that first down, Titus gets bent over the pass rusher the other way, gets up, and he finishes that series, but he's limping. He's slow to get up. He is the Jenga block of the entire offensive line. You could have put Blake Fisher in there. To Tom's point, none of the decisions made absolute sense, and they all contradicted each other. So, no, it didn't make sense. As I tweeted after the game, all's well that ends well. Texans came out with the win with a huge performance from their defense and did just enough to beat Riley Leonard, but Houston gave them a chance all day long to win it. And there's a chance that you could have gave away AFC home field advantage in a playoff game this year with so much parity along the league. So, no, I did have an issue with it.
I just go with odds. And the odds of the Texans hosting the AFC Championship game means all the top seeds have to go down. If the Texans get 5, 1 through 4 have got to go down. And look, you can tell me all you want to, man, Trevor Lawrence and they're hot and whatever. The Texans beat the darn Jags a few weeks ago with Davis Mills at quarterback. And I get it, like they're hot, but the Texans are hot too. And if you believe
that's also the last time they lost.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
2 months ago.
The Texans have shown though that they can beat them where everybody else does. And look, man, I've just seen the Ravens pull the party trick on the Texans too many times. They've never, ever beat Lamar Jackson. And I trust the Texans against Trevor Lawrence way over Lamar Jackson. I'm sorry, Tom and Jason. I trust the Texans over Trevor Lawrence more than Lamar Jackson. End of story.
Well, here's the thing. Do you trust Trevor Lawrence over Josh Allen? Because, I mean, you're kind of contradicting yourself here because you're saying that you need the 6 and 7 seed to win. No, even if just one wins, you wouldn't face Buffalo or the Chargers until the AFC Championship game. If you ask me, Jason, what 2 teams do you see in the AFC Championship game this year? I'm going to tell you Buffalo and Houston. And if it's not Houston, it doesn't matter. But I think nobody else has a better chance than Buffalo. I don't care about the regular season. The playoffs is about a whole different type of game. And Trevor Lawrence, Drake May, Bo Nix, and Justin Herbert, 4 of the other 6 quarterbacks have combined 1 playoff win. That's less than CJ Stroud has going into his 3rd playoff in a row. So, yeah, I think there's absolutely a possibility that if you make it to the AFC Championship game, that's a home game against Buffalo, as opposed to if you lost this game, that's a road game in Buffalo in the elements. So again, it could shake out anyway, but I don't think it's a long shot at all that Josh Allen beats Trevor Lawrence. To your point, who's not buying into Trevor Lawrence and what he's done over the last 2 months. I mean, they traded for Jacoby Myers. Parker Washington stepped his game up. Brenton Strange come back. They're now throwing to Travis Etienne, the running back, which hadn't made sense his entire career why they don't throw to him more. They've got a complete offense, and they've got a defense that creates turnover. It's a talented team. I think the worst matchup for them is Buffalo and Josh Allen. That's another reason you want that 3 and 6 seed. I would rather face Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers. Pittsburgh's up 13-10 late in the third quarter right now. And we're still saying Baltimore. What if it's Pittsburgh? Are you scared of Pittsburgh with DK Metcalf missing 2 games? And as far as they haven't beat Lamar Jackson, that's the same thing around draft season. You don't draft the quarterback out of Ohio State. And we're sitting here with CJ Stroud in Houston that's gone to the playoffs 3 straight years.
Yeah, I'll get to more Lamar Jackson as the show goes on, but I'm just going to move through the second half with the subs in pretty quickly, and Colts get 6 on their first possession. Pierce beats Jamarcus Ingram and Kevon Wallace deep to set it up. No surprise. Those guys get beat deep. Texans and Colts trade 3 and outs. Mills then orchestrates a drive for Fairbairn's 4th field goal. But Tom, how about British Brooks? We talked about him and being excited about him last year, getting some carries. The guy looked like he had some juice. 5 carries, 35 yards on that possession. Just, something to, keep in mind as the Texans move forward with running backs, and, maybe British Brooks can do something.
Absolutely. What was it? 2 preseasons ago, he really exploded on the scene for the Texans. Had a really, really strong preseason, but the backfield was really, really deep. You had Mixon, you had guys, and he just couldn't crack the roster. So he's been doing the thing on the special teams. He's made tackles all season long. This was his first real opportunity to get some real run, and he showed he's still got the talent to make things happen. So, me and Jayson joked around a little bit on Twitter about the running back situation. And I really hope that if there is a spot to be had, it's for British Brooks.
After the Texans field goal, Colts respond with the field goal. Texans next drive stalls. But then Tommy Togiai, boy, he was everywhere. He forces a bad Leonard throw. Elijah Huzzie picks it off. People are probably looking through their programs. Who's Elijah Huzzie? Fairbairn's 5th field goal puts the Texans up by 2. Colts come back with the field goal, so it came down to Davis Mills. Hutch continued his big day, 17-yard catch. Mills hits Knoll inside the 30, and Fairbairn kicks his career high 6th field goal to win the game. More on Fairbairn in just a minute, but Jayson, nothing gave me more joy. I mean, I was laughing at home when Togiai capped off the regular season, the whole season, with a touchdown on the final play. Tommy TD.
Yeah, Tommy Four Toes Togiai, as we named it at the beginning of the season. He's got a mafia name. We got it. We had to give him the mafia nickname. And so, yeah, what a 4th quarter. You talked about it there with Tommy Togiai getting the push from the interior of the pocket, hitting Riley Leonard's arm and forcing the interception to Elijah Huzzie, who a U of H guy, right? Am I mistaken? Am I getting my memory twisted up? So, I mean, if that's correct, then also fitting as well to seal it there for the city. So big play there. And then also in that same 4th quarter, after Togiai creates that turnover, then he has the touchdown to end the game. And that's no simple touchdown there. To scoop it up off the bounce, burst by the guys trying to tackle you, offensive guys there, and to run it in and to seal the end. You saw the team just really celebrate him. So for the season that he had, after all the defensive tackle injuries this year, yeah, I know we talked about safety as well, but that D tackle position, starting with Kurt Heinisch, Foley, Tim Settle Jr., Mario Edwards. If you didn't have Tommy Togiai this year, I think that position you're getting ran on all season long. But ESPN, their analytics department, puts out their rankings coming into this week. Tommy Togiai was number 1 in the NFL in run stop win rate. And this isn't some BS stat that you just throw out there, because former top 10 pick Quinnen Williams, who the Dallas Cowboys traded the Jets to get, was number 2 with 1 less than Tommy Togiai. So kudos to Nick Caserio, kudos to D'Amico Ryans and Matt Burke, but a big salute to Tommy Togiai. And this 4th quarter was just the cherry on top of an excellent season.
And Tom, I got to point out, he's making $2 million next year. Caserio already has him locked in next year for $2 million. I would say give him a little extra next year and see if you can tack on another couple of years, because this guy looks like a legit Pro Bowler.
So it's actually 2.5. They extended him in September. I was literally going to hit that point. There's a guy on Twitter, Nick Swager. I mean, he's really popular. He's the one that I first saw put it out there. And I mean, you can't say enough about Nick Caserio being able to go and find talent everywhere. And this is another example, because I don't know that you're going to find another D tackle with that kind of win rate for $2.5 million.
No, absolutely. And to the comment section, no, I don't know. I haven't ever counted them, and I haven't been in the locker room to see. But I think Tommy does have 5 toes on each foot there for Tony Yayo in the comments.
Yeah, I haven't heard that story either. Yeah, that's Tony threw that up that he has 4 toes. Also, just want to say that Tommy did his best, but he could not quite cover the point spread for those who bet the Texans in this game. But I'm curious, Jayson, what do you think of our friends at FanDuel and where they're going to put a point spread, say Texans Steelers and Texans Ravens? Like, where are those going to be? Do you think it's different depending on who they play?
Yes.
And are the Texans definitely an underdog in both of those games?
Nice. So I'm sorry. I'm laughing at the comments, though. It still got me. But no, as far as that's a great question. And to your point, I understand a lot of people being concerned about Lamar Jackson. I think Vegas will probably respond the same way with what you're saying. And we know that line moves with the way people bet. And so with that thought process out there, I would expect, I think the Texans will be favored in both games. That might be surprising with it being on the road. But I think against Baltimore, it's probably Texans giving away 1.5. And against Pittsburgh, I could see it being as big. I would expect 2.5 for the Texans to be favored, but I could see it being as big as 3.5. DK Metcalf again missed the last 2 games, coming out and having to knock the rust off, and having Kamari Laster off a week's rest, even though he's probably still dealing a little bit banged up. We know that he plays through it, and Derek Stingley Jr. on the other side. Outside of that, this is the check down offense where you're throwing to Jonnu Smith, you're throwing to the tight ends, you're throwing to the running backs, and DK Metcalf's going to be locked up no matter which side he's on. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the Texans give 3.5, even though it's on the road at Pittsburgh. And Baltimore, I still think the Texans would be favored, but it would be given 1.5.
Yeah, I would be surprised if it's any more than 3 with either one of those teams. The Texans typically play the good teams close, Tom. I mean, I can't see maybe 2.5 the Texans are favored, but 3.5 seems like a lot for the Texans on the road, even with the Steelers and whatever's their offense is. I don't know.
2.5 is the magic number for me for either game. I think Vegas will start there depending on where the money goes. So you probably see it move. But if once this game ends and they're able to lock it in, my hedge is that it's 2.5 either way.
2.5. The Texans are favorite, you're saying?
Yes. Both games. I can't see the game we're watching right now. I can't see anybody in Vegas watching that going, I can favor either one of these teams. They're not able to put up any offense. And now they get to face the number 1 defense in all of football. I mean, how far could they run away? And then the Texans struggle to put points up. So it just screams field goal.
Jayson, I don't know if you saw this, but did the Texans lose their points per game as the best defense in the NFL with the points they gave up today? Because I know Seattle was right there. And I want to say those last few points might have been the difference in them losing the points per game battle.
Yeah, I didn't look it up, but I like to give credit where it's due. I don't take other people's work, and like Tom was mentioning, other people that put stuff out. I love that he does that as well. I apologize. I don't remember who put it out there, but I did see on X that Seahawks were like 0.17 or 0.18. So I think it was like 17.18, and the Texans were like 17.35 or something. So by fractions of a point, Seahawks did pass the Texans. If that tweet is to be correct, I didn't check the work.
Couple last thoughts on the Texans game, and I'm going to connect it to the playoffs as well. Tom, you can probably split the MVP for this game between Xavier Hutchinson and Fairbairn. Hutch, 5 catches, 84 yards, but they all felt humongous. Fairbairn kicks field goals of 51, 48, 29, 44, 2 43-yarders, ties the NFL record for most field goals made in a single season. And Tom, he's missed only 4 field goals this year and is perfect on extra points. You want your kicker to enter the playoffs, number 1 with confidence and number 2 on a roll.
Oh, 100%. He's my player of the game, no question. I recognize what Hutch did. Totally appreciate his work, but they're not there without Kaimi doing his thing, which drives the point home that Jayson made even more about where the Texans are going to play in the postseason, because the last thing I would want for my kicker is trying to kick extra points and field goals in Buffalo when you could do it in the friendly confines in Houston if you have any control over that at all.
Also, how about kicking extra points and field goals in Jacksonville next to, it turns out it doesn't matter, but that could have been the choice as well next to Pittsburgh and Baltimore. So yeah, I mean, that's all part of it. If we look ahead, I can't think of anything that really scares me about the Steelers. If they play the Steelers with the Ravens, it's about stopping Derrick Henry. And one thing that I've noticed about this defense, Jayson, and I don't know if you see this, but it feels like they've really improved as the season goes along. And again, I'm going to go back to Tommy Togiai because he's such a difference maker in the run game. The Ravens game defensively comes down to controlling Lamar Jackson scrambles. That's the real thing that I'm freaked out about, is a quarterback that scrambles. And Trevor can do it a little bit as well, if they were to play Jacksonville. But I'm not scared about Pittsburgh. And one of the big reasons is it's not just their offense is not that great, but it's Aaron Rodgers looked like he was carrying a piano on his back when he was trying to scramble in this game.
Yeah, no, to your point, I think Trevor Lawrence does have about 9 rushing touchdowns this year. And with Trevor going all the way back to his Clemson days, when the games start to mean more, he's more willing to run, especially there around the goal line. So we've seen him get back to that in recent weeks. As far as the Derrick Henry point, yeah, he's having a great game, 18 carries for 123 yards. But if I'm not mistaken, with the Texans playing Derrick Henry so much, they've kind of had his number over the last several games, even there in Baltimore, giving him some of his worst stat games, if I'm not mistaken. And Lamar Jackson passing, though, 5 for 10 for 67 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception today. Fourth quarter starting, Pittsburgh's up 13-10, has the ball 1st and 10 at Pittsburgh's 24. So I do understand where you're coming from. The Texans all year long, whether it's Baker Mayfield on the 4th and 10, they have struggled and they've had a weak spot to giving up those rushing yards to mobile quarterbacks. And Lamar Jackson is one of the best mobile quarterbacks in the NFL. So I definitely understand where you're coming from on that, Robert. But for me, the seeding and then also which team you're playing against, I think Jacksonville, I'm not saying I'm full in on Jacksonville because I don't trust, like I said, any of these young quarterbacks in the playoffs. I think it's a different animal, but I am buying some that Liam Cohen and all the new weapons and have kind of slotted into the right position in that offense, and getting Travis Etienne more involved in the passing game has really made Jacksonville more dangerous. And I think Jacksonville's a scarier team than Baltimore or Pittsburgh. I mean, they're still a top 10 team as far as points they're giving up. And I don't know how many turnovers they created today or if they even got any, but I know going into this game, last 4 or 5 games straight, they had 2+ turnovers on that defense. So all season long, they've done really well at creating turnovers. Texans, plus 17 in turnover margin this year, best season in Texans history, top 5 turnover margins in the NFL in the last 10 seasons, tied for 4th with Baltimore back in 2017. But behind the Texans is Jacksonville in turnover margin this year at number 3.
Tom, what scares you, if anything, about either of these two teams?
To be honest, to me, I like the matchups against both of them. I really do. You talked about Derrick Henry. Week 5, the Texans played him, albeit Cooper Rush was the quarterback. He ran the ball 15 times for 33 yards. So now I can't speak to their offensive line, if that's changed, or if they've done anything like that. I really haven't followed it closely enough. Big thing on the Ravens just came out. Kyle Hamilton is out for the rest of this game with a concussion. You know how concussions work. You got to clear that. So if the Ravens were to make it through, they could be without a huge piece of their defense in Kyle Hamilton. We've talked about the Steelers. You've talked about DK Metcalf. I feel like they've regressed as an offense. They had a chance to salt this thing away last week against the Cleveland Browns. They could not score against the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns, good defense, but they were just unable to do anything there when I mean, they had an opportunity to not have to go into this week needing a win to get in. And I just feel like if you go to Pittsburgh and you get on them early, from what I've heard, their fan base, they kind of check out a little bit. I don't know how much that is or isn't, but it just feels like the Texans should be better than both of those teams with the way their records are, with the way how they looked. And I just feel like that's the matchups they should be targeting. They should go exploit those teams. Messing around with Jacksonville right now, who's on the second longest win streak in football, seems like a mistake. And you're not the only one that said, bring me Jacksonville. There's a lot of Texans fans that were out there going, the Jacksonville Jaguars don't scare us. We played them. We know them. We beat them. I'm like, look, to disrespect what they've done over the last 2 months is no different than other fan bases going, the Texans are frauds because they lost to begin the season. They were 0-3 and 2-5. We shouldn't repay that back to other fan bases going, oh, we're just going to act like we're, not paying attention to all the points that Jayson made about Jacksonville being a much better team and beating better talent. They went into Denver and put it on Denver. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. That's another really good defense. So I refuse to just act like, we know them. I'm not saying that they should fear them. There should be a healthy respect.
Yeah, Noel says not scared about either the Ravens or the Steelers. Both teams present a chance to exercise some demons. Henry and Lamar, if Ravens, Rodgers, if Steelers. I don't know about what demons the Texans and Rodgers have, but I just find it interesting as an old guy. I'm just going to say this as an old guy that, loved the Oilers and have watched so many playoffs with both the Texans and the Oilers. The Texans have lost to the Ravens in the playoffs a couple of times. We know that. That would be a nice demon to exercise. The Oilers lost in the AFC Championship 2 years in a row to the Steelers. So, it's long overdue for some get back against the Steelers if you face them. The Oilers, before that Bills 35-3 blown loss, they were up 21-6 on the Broncos. And I remember that comeback in the playoffs, and that was a darn good Oilers team too. You got the Bills. If you face them, it was 35-3. I mean, there's so many demons. They've already gotten rid of the Chiefs, who've beaten them in the playoffs. The Oilers had a 10-0 lead against them after, by the way, the Oilers had won 11 games in a row to end the season. We're seeing 9 games this season. It's very similar because that Oilers team was a total defensive-led team. Even though it had Warren Moon and some great receivers, they were having trouble that year. Buddy Ryan got into a fist fight with his offensive coordinator during a game. So that's how bad it was between the defense and the offense. But yeah, I mean, you look at all these teams, and there's a history, whether it's the Texans or the Oilers. So there's like a lot of fun little things in play. But yeah, you just look the way this whole thing sets up. If they can win this next game in a cold climate, and then you're going to face whoever from there. Yeah, Jayson, I mean, it looks like the one thing I worry about with the Texans with all of this stuff is, they've got to be able to handle what they have had so much trouble handling this year. The offense, when it gets close, don't have these penalties that are just basic stuff, whether it's guys shifting. Today we saw Ed Ingram down the field when he shouldn't have been down the field 5 yards on a pass that would have put him inside the 10-yard line. It's just this little stuff that the O-line and the receivers and the basic stuff, because when they get rid of all that stuff, it's 4 extra points. It's touchdowns instead of field goals. And that's all they need with this Texans defense. Give me a couple of times where you get 4 instead of 7 and you win these games.
Yeah, so looking at these playoffs, Robert, and I want to end this with a question to you because I know you know a lot more about the announcers than me. I'll go ahead and key that up and just respond after I finish my question. But J.J. Watt, would he be eligible? Do they have him on the playoff broadcast at all? Because if it is Pittsburgh, man, I'd love to see him call a playoff game between T.J. Watt and the Texans. So I'll get your response on that in a second. But I'll say this. The other reason I like the Texans facing an old, ancient Aaron Rodgers without many offensive weapons or Lamar Jackson, you win this game, C.J. Stroud is either the most experienced quarterback left or the second most experienced quarterback left if Josh Allen goes to Jacksonville and win. And so the matchup I didn't want to see is I didn't want the Texans to play Buffalo and Josh Allen. Yes, I know how many times they sacked them. I know what they did. Playoff football, and I can't say this enough, playoff football is a different beast the games faster, the decision. You shake a little bit more if you don't have the experience. And so these guys without much experience, those are the guys I want to face. But if you can get Lamar, who's having a down year, or Aaron Rodgers, who's at the end of his run without a lot of offensive weapons, and knock them out in the first round, because your goal is the Super Bowl. There's not going to be any parades for making it to your first AFC championship game. People be happy that you made it farther than you should and you knocked that monkey off your back, but it's a failed season if you don't make it to the Super Bowl list. Winning, we'll see how it shakes out. The NFC's got some beasts this year, but make it to the Super Bowl is the goal this year. And yeah, obviously they want to win it. But whether you play Baltimore or Pittsburgh last, or you play them first, you're going to have to play them if they're really that good and a team to be afraid of. So if they go out there and they beat Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers next week, there's a chance CJ Stroud's the most experienced playoff quarterback in the AFC with the most playoff wins in his third year. Now, if Josh Allen wins, then you're talking about you and Josh Allen. But if you got to that point, you're not playing Josh Allen to the AFC Championship in Houston. So I like the way this is set up. If you can't beat Baltimore and Pittsburgh, whoever wins this game tonight, they have the worst record in the AFC. They are the worst team in the AFC, and you get them in the first round. Does that mean the Texans are going to win? No, the games have to be played. These are two Hall of Fame quarterbacks. They could turn it on for 60 minutes. All that's well and good. But they are the two worst teams in the AFC in this season, where every team should have had 12-plus wins outside of them if the Chargers didn't rest their starters this week.
Yeah, as far as the Monday night game, that would be an ABC game. So you could always turn it over to Peyton Manning, which, he loves, I'm sure, the Texans for all his years going up against the Texans. So that might be a fun watch. But Tom, if you look at the quarterbacks that they're going to face in the playoffs, CJ Stroud said at his post-game press conference, hey, I feel super confident because we've gone through the bruises. I feel like we've learned from that. We've learned from our mistakes. And, that's the attitude you want to see CJ going into this playoffs. Josh Allen is the guy, but, I know Jason's like, oh, Josh Allen could come out and the Texans could end up facing him a couple of, games down the road. Let me see Josh Allen do it because, they've struggled at times late in the season. I mean, I know that he's the more experienced quarterback. He's very good, but he's going to have to go on the road. They're not going to have the Buffalo snow to help him out. They're not going to have that weather. So, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I definitely agree. I feel great because CJ's been there before and these other guys haven't.
Last week, we talked about what we thought this game should mean and how we should line up. Should they play the starters? Should they play the backups? Do we care about seeding? All of those things. And we disagreed. You felt like, hey, they can beat anybody. Put the subs in there. And I felt like this game was really important. And I still felt like this game was really important. And they needed to win it for all the reasons that you laid out. The seeding, everything, where they could play. I thought that was very important. But the other thing that I think is very important that we see in every sport, doesn't matter. Baseball, college football, college basketball, soccer, doesn't matter. Who are some of the best teams in the postseason? The guys that were hot at the end of the season, that had good, momentum, vibes, whatever you want, whatever the kids want to call it these days, that were riding high. And I thought that if the Texans lost this game for whatever reason, that they were going to lose some of that mojo that they've had, some of that swagger, some of that, hey, we feel good about our chances to do something, because it would creep doubt in. It would go, well, if we catch the wrong team, we could get beat. And to me, the touchdown by Togiai, them figuring a way out to get it done, was so huge to that, because now they go in feeling really good about all the things that CJ said. They go in feeling like, hey, this is something we can do. We made it through all the bumps and bruises and stuff like that. I felt like those guys should have played to look more like Jacksonville. But getting that Togiai 6 at the end of that game, with the way they mobbed him, with the way it had that whole team fired up, it was so critical. So for me, for them just feeling the way that they do going into the game, having the mindset like, hey, we can do this, so huge. And to me, that is going to be just as important as where they play and who they play and what time slot and who's calling it. Them having the mindset that, hey, we can get this done.
Yeah, speaking of my concern about Lamar Jackson and his health and him scrambling, he just scrambled, broke a tackle, and threw a 50-yard touchdown to take the 17-13 lead. It doesn't look like we're going to have a final score before this game's over with, but I do want to hit one other thing before I get you guys' final thoughts. Just days after the Astros signed free agent Japanese pitcher Tatsuya Imai, he was at the Texans game today. That guy knows exactly how to make Houston fall in love with him. If you missed the short I posted this morning, here's a couple of minutes with my thoughts on the Astros' biggest move of the offseason. The Astros are the talk of the baseball world the last couple of days with the signing of starting pitcher Tatsuya Imai. If you're an Astros fan, be excited. Dana Brown not only grabbed an incredible value, potential high-end starter, but the Astros dipped into the Japanese market for the first time. It can pay dividends down the road. And I've heard scouts say Tatsuya is more likely a high-end number 3 starter, but the comps for his stuff suggest way more. His slider has similar movement to rookie phenom and World Series standout Trey Yesavage with the Blue Jays. His fastball, similar to the Twins all-star Joe Ryan, and his pitch profile has drawn a comp to Mariners all-star Luis Castillo. This past year, his ranks in the Japanese league were elite. He was first in whip, .85, first in strikeout percentage, first in batting average against, 172, second in FIP, and second in home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's 27 years old, so he's in his absolute prime. You'll hear he's had control issues in previous years, but he's improved every year in the last few. He had a complete game 2-hit shutout last year where he struck out 17 and walked 0. His last pitch, a 98-mile-per-hour fastball. The other thing about Tatsuya is how he's continued to evolve, changing his windup, adding pitches, and improving from year to year. He's absolutely going to be open to the Astros way. Whatever they're looking to do, he'll be into. And more importantly, he chose the Astros and took a cheaper deal than everybody expected. The only downside for Astros fans is his 3-year contract has an opt-out every year. So if he blows up next year, he's likely gone for a long, huge deal somewhere else, especially with Scott Boras as his agent. But the quote that should forever endear him to Astros fans is this, quote, "Of course, I'd enjoy playing alongside Ohtani, Yamamoto, and Sasaki, but winning against a team like that and becoming a world champion would be the most valuable thing in my life. If anything, I'd rather take them down," unquote. So Ime basically chose the Astros instead of the Dodgers and wants to beat them. The Astros replace what will be a huge Fromber contract with $18 million for Tatsuya, $2.6 million for Weiss, $1.3 million for Pearson, and $820,000 for Burrows. A lot more about those guys earlier in the week. Check out Locked On Astros host Brett Chansey, who was with me, and we went over some of those signings, but a hell of a job by Dana Brown, Jim Crane, and the Astros brass. And Tom, I will say this. We are not going to see Tatsuya show up at an Astros press conference with a Mariners cap or a Colts cap or a Titans cap. This guy already knows what to do. You go out, you take down the Dodgers, you talk about that, you show up at a Texans game when they're trying to get 9 in a row. That is what I love about this guy. I'm super excited about this. The Astros, I think, pulled one over on the rest of Major League Baseball by getting him, even if it's only one season.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%. There, you can go all over Twitter to every fan base that was, quote unquote, a player for Tatsuya and just watch how upset they are that their team wasn't able to get this guy here. It's a huge, huge coup for the Astros. Something that not a lot of people are talking about. I can't remember who I saw it because I always want to give credit where credit is due. But do you know who Tatsuya's coach is for the Cebu Lions? No other than former Astro Kaz Matsui, who I don't know if they talked, but clearly he said, hey, Houston's not a bad place to live. So I think that's awesome that there was a little piece of Astro something out there for him to grab to, because a lot of people did not have him in Houston. They're like, he's going to be on one of the coasts. That's just the And if there was also another thing on Twitter, again, I'm sorry, whoever did this great work, because I do believe in it, where they showed all the Asian players and how disparate it is, East Coast, West Coast, up in the north a little bit, and one dude down at the bottom, Tatsuya Amai. So I'm very excited to see him pitch. He has a swagger to him. The picture you showed, although you had Tal's Hill in the back, that was an old school pull that you got there. Had the hat kick to the side. I think he's going to have a little bravado. I think he's going to be great.
Kaz, I believe, the last Japanese Astros player. And, that probably played a role. There was talk that Daikin Park, them going with Daikin, a Japanese country might have, Japanese company, I should say, might have played a role in that. And of course, you just never know what the Astros, were working on, because they've really tried to get hard into the Japanese market, and they've really been working on that the last couple of years. And I got to give Dana Brown credit, because the Kikuchi trade and what the Astros did for him might have played a role as well. I mean, everybody thought, oh, the Kikuchi trade was just about 1 year and 2 or 3 months of Kikuchi. Maybe not so much. So, this Astros management, the Texans management, we talked about Tommy Togiai. I'm going to pull it all back in. We've talked about Tommy Togiai, what the management has done there. And look, Jayson, we talk about this. Oh, this is D'Amico Ryans getting these guys on defense to do stuff. D'Amico, takes these guys. They would be terrible. He could take anybody. He can't take anybody. We just watched it in the second half. What's he doing with Tremont Smith? Give Caserio some credit. He's gotten these guys. And I know, okay, well, then why did Caserio bring in Tremont? Well, they've had injury after injury after injury in the secondary, and they're going to like street guys to try to make up for all of these. Jalen Smith, I mean, we all forget that guy started to look good as a mid-round pick this year, and they lost him. And we talked about all the safeties that they've lost. So, I mean, it's not just D'Amico is turning chicken crap into chicken salad. You got to give the Texans management credit, the Astros, the Rockets management. We know what the Rockets have done. So, I mean, any final words, Jayson, just on the playoffs or anything that we haven't touched upon?
Yeah, I'll get to the playoffs real quick. But first, I know y'all are the baseball guys, so I won't touch that talk for you. And my former co-host, Patrick Creighton, and his new co-host, Sean Bajani, both of them great baseball guys as well. Only thing I will say as far as that is concerned, biggest pet peeve, this is Texas, this is Houston, and this is the Cougars. So just have to understand that if we're going to throw it up, don't throw up the Texas, throw up the H. Outside of that, though, I want to go back to the playoffs and kind of figuratively ask you guys both to put your money where your mouth is. Let's say in this scenario, I say I got $10,000 for each one of you, but I don't give you that 10 grand. You only get the winnings if you place it on this team to win. Are you trusting Josh Allen or Trevor Lawrence? And let me remind you, Josh Allen's lost in the playoffs 4 games to Patrick Mahomes, 1 to Joe Burrow, and 1 to Deshaun Watson and the Texans. So, I mean, it's not like he doesn't lose to scrubs in the playoffs here. And so Trevor Lawrence is 1-1. The one game he beat Justin Herbert after Lawrence threw 4 interceptions in that game and came back and threw 4 touchdowns. So whatever you want to make of that. Are you putting your 10 grand? The only way you get the money is if you win the bet. Or you put it on Buffalo or Jacksonville. I'll also do the same with the Chargers in New England.
Josh. I'm taking Josh. No question.
I don't think it's that easy. I really don't. If you told me this was neutral site, if you told me this was,
fair,
minus some injuries. I know Buffalo on defense has some really key injuries. I really don't want to discredit what Jacksonville's doing. I know we don't like them. I know we don't respect them. I know we feel like that whole thing is a facade, what they're doing. But at some point, just like the Texans, you have to give credit where credit is due. And as much as I love Josh Allen, I have seen Josh Allen have fits with good defenses. And Jacksonville's defense, for all we talk about Trevor Lawrence and ETN and Strange and Jacoby Myers, I think is totally slept on. That's a huge get. But that defense has been really, really good. I'm going to go Trevor because I know it's in their building.
Yeah, it's a pretty even deal, just not because of the quarterbacks, but I just think when you look at the surrounding cast, Trevor's got the better surrounding cast at this point. The best quarterbacks there. I don't. The other thing is, I don't have any respect for Jacksonville as a home field advantage. I've covered an AFC Championship game, Jacksonville and Tennessee. It was not a scary place back then, and that was when Jacksonville fans were not, scared of anything because they were just so excited to have a team in the AFC Championship game. This is 24 years ago. This is early in their franchise history. That town was on fire for the Jags at that point, but it wasn't that much of a home field advantage. It never feels like a home field advantage when the Texans play there. So, like, if I look at it and I'm like, Josh is not playing in the snow, and that helps, I guess, a little bit because he's so used to it. But man, I mean, the Jags, there's just not the home field advantage. You got a coach that's a rookie who's never, coached in a playoff game. You got a quarterback that, doesn't have a ton of playoff success. You got a lot of guys on that team who are all their guys that have playoffs behind them, Jayson? I mean, it's not a team with, okay, they got this vet and that vet,
exactly,
and so on and so on.
No, exactly. You're exactly right. All right, so we're split on that. I know it's hard to win on the road in the playoffs as well too. So that's fair. But give me Houston this week. I'm going 3 road teams in the AFC. Give me Houston this week. I don't care if it's Pittsburgh or Baltimore. Give me Buffalo. And Justin Herbert's the one I'm the most worried about predicting. That being said, I think New England's been so much fluff this year, and that Chargers defense, you're talking about a defense that's been slept on unless you play them. That Chargers defense is a beast to go up against, and Drake May hasn't been tested. He's never played a playoff game in his second year now. I'm going to Chargers, but same thing, 10 grand, I give it to you, but you have to win the bet. Chargers on the road, Drake May in his first start.
Texans are battle tested. They have the 5th hardest schedule. They've had the 5th hardest schedule, at least going into this week. They had the 5th hardest schedule in the NFL. The easiest schedules in the NFL, right up at the top, the Patriots. So yeah, I don't have a ton of confidence. The Texans have beaten, what is it, Tom? 4 11-win teams this year. The Patriots, I just don't know. I mean, look, Vrabel is a darn good coach. So that's the one thing that they really do have on their side. I really love Vrabel as a head coach, but this is a second-year quarterback. It's a team that hasn't been tested a whole lot this year. So I don't know. Like that one, I would. That's a coin flip for me.
It's not for me. It's New England, and it's not close. The way I look at it, Ramondre Stevenson and Henderson, they're absolute beasts. They ran the ball 20 times for 184 yards. Like it's nasty. That's what they want to do. And then they use Drake May off of that. So they're not putting the load on Drake May to go throw the ball 30, 40 times. It's not the way they operate. It screams playoff football, grinds you into the dust, and just run it down. Their defense, while they haven't played anybody, they've done what they're supposed to do against bad teams. They've been very opportunistic. I feel like they're not going to run away from anybody like they've done against some of these other teams. But I feel like the system that they run, the idea, the formula they want to use to win football games screams playoff football. And I think for the Chargers, you need Justin Herbert to be good. As much as we talked about Drake May being a rookie, I'll flip it for the Chargers. You want Omarion Hampton to be the dude who's a rookie himself to go and lead that backfield. And Justin Herbert's playing injured. For me, that's a big thing. It's hard. We talk about Lamar and fearing Lamar. Lamar's one good sack away from being out of every football game. As a guy with lower back problems, those never go away. They might put all the drugs and feel good that you want to get right, but I promise you, he gets crunched and them discs get moved the wrong way, and he's not finishing that football game. So for me, you talk about injuries. I want to say Herbert looked like he was about one play away from coming out of that Texan game when everything was on the table for the Chargers then. So give me New England, who just wants to hand the ball off and beat you with hard-nosed football that wins in the playoffs.
Yeah, but the one thing you left out on the Chargers, though, that deep wide receiver core and the tight end position. I mean, and they're so versatile. and the different personnel groupings they can use. Yeah, Herbert's been sacked a lot this year, but people forget Drake May's been sacked a lot this year. Both of them and Trevor Lawrence. I want to say both of them are up there around the top 5 in sacks this year. Herbert's right there around the top and most sacked, but Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, both around there in the top 5 as well. Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, Keenan Allen, and the 2 rookies, Trey Harris and Kendall Lambert-Smith. We didn't even talk about the rookie tight end, Oronde Gadsden, Will Disley, who can block in the running game and move the chains in the passing game. So there's such a multitude of weapons. I don't think Omarion Hampton has to carry that load, and I think Drake May has more of a concern facing this Chargers defense. And you talked about Mike Vrabel being a good coach. Jim Harbaugh is a good coach as well, too. So, again, I have no problem with people going either way on this. It's hard to pull against a home team in the playoffs. That being said, and this is probably the only year, I'd imagine it's the only year I've ever done this, I'm going all 3 road teams this week: Houston, Buffalo, and the Chargers. Touchdown Steelers.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I turned for a second. They scored a touchdown. Remind us where we can find you on social media, Tom, and plug anything, the Bullpen podcast. Let us know what's going on with you guys.
At Third Coast Tom on Twitter, at TC Tom1 on Instagram. The Bullpen goes live on Wednesdays now. That's when we do the majority of our post-game stuff. We got away from the whole format where it was like post-game here, pre-game there. That's what we were doing for a while. So definitely come check us out live Wednesday. I want to say it'll be about 9 o'clock. Check me out on Twitter. We'll definitely let you know closer to when we go live. And we talk Texans same way. Very excited. James Roy's really good about giveaways. Definitely show up for those. Somebody was at the game today, free of charge via James Roy, and I think that's really cool. So definitely come check us out over there.
Jayson, go ahead and do your plugs. We know it's at Jayson Braddock, Jayson with a Y.
Yeah, that's it on Twitter or X. Different flavors, different neighbors, whichever way you want to roll with it. You can catch my Texans breakdowns. We go throughout the playoffs. Mostly during the year, I cover the AFC South for Dr. Roto. You can catch those articles on MSN. We're winding it down over there as the regular season comes to the end, but you can still catch my work on Twitter. As you said, Jayson Braddock, Jayson with a Y on Twitter or X. We'll have you covered all the way through the playoffs.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys that were commenting. It was a lot of Brandon, a lot of Tony. Want some more people on this. So we are coming at you Monday night for the Texans postgame in the playoffs. Gotta have some more people in the building. Tell your friends, let them know we're going to come on right after the game. Looking forward to that. I'm going to try to effort to get a little bit of a preview of this with a Raven expert. So keep an eye out for that this week on my show. Want to thank everybody again for joining us on our live Texans postgame presented by our friends at FanDuel. Thank them as well. Go check out FanDuel.com, the FanDuel app. Thanks again, Jayson, Tom. Great stuff. Texans 9 in a row, going to the playoffs. And now we can go watch the last couple of minutes of this game to see who we're going to play next. But we'll talk to you guys in a couple of days.
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.
Hey, don't forget to support us by subscribing and commenting on YouTube. You can always listen to us on Spotify, Apple, or your favorite podcast app. Tell your friends about us and share our show links on social media. Spread the word, everybody. Thanks for listening.